Hello everyone, welcome. I have another story to share with you, and I'm in a special spot. I am still in West Virginia, Hedgesville. You're getting this video after I'm already home, but I wanted to take advantage of the spot here that has to do with one of the parts of our story. And I'm right now sitting in a vineyard. And a vineyard, what is a vineyard? A vineyard is a garden where vines are grown and tended that grow grapes. So let me show you the vineyard first. Come with me. All right. So here you can see are the vines and the branches. And this vineyard is very special because my mom grew this vineyard all on her own, and she's tended it, and she gets grapes from it. Here's the other side. Look, you can see her off in the back there. She's tending one of her apple trees. And here's another row of the vineyard. It's very empty right now. The branches are empty, nothing green and no grapes yet, but those will be coming throughout the summer. So there you have a picture of where I'm at right now. Okay. So the story I'm reading today is an Easter story. It's called Petook, an Easter story. And this story is one of my favorites for Easter. And it has two stories going on at the same time. It has the main story with this rooster, and then it has a smaller story going on in littler pictures that's also an Easter story. And remember, we talked about Easter and how it's the greatest day of the year and the greatest day that ever happened to the world. The day that, what happened? Yep, Jesus rose from the dead, the greatest. So let's pay attention while I'm reading. See if you can figure out why this story is about Easter and why the other smaller stories about Easter too. Okay, Petook, an Easter story by Carol Houselander. If I'm squinting a little, the sun is shining right on me. Feels good. Oh, here we have some lilies. And look, some crocuses. Things we see at Easter. Easter lilies and crocuses. Okay, it was a lovely warm day. The sky was bright blue and the clouds white and thick, like balls of cotton wool. Everything seemed full of color, big happy colors like those in a painting book. Even the maize in the bowls was yellower than usual. Oh, and here's the smaller picture, okay? It's the start. Wonder what that is. Petook, there he is, a big rooster, was happy. He had reason to be. He was a fine cock with snowy white plumage and a red comb that positively glowed in the sun, and today he had become the father of 12 little chickens. He thought that there were no chickens like them, none so round, so yellow, so fluffy, so bright-eyed. As for his wife Martha, the brown speckled hen, plain and homely soul though she was, she had become all grand and important. There she is, grand and important. During the past few weeks, Petook had sometimes felt a little impatient. It seemed that Martha had some secret that he did not share. It made her very happy, but it also made her look almost smug, and it annoyed Petook to be outside of it. Martha had just sat on the eggs with a tiny smile on her face, and her eyes nearly shut, as if she were looking into herself, at a ball of light that was growing inside. Does she look like she has a smile on her face? Not talking, not moving, only making a funny little sound of happiness in her throat now and then. But now Petook understood. It was he who was smiling and so bursting with pride and joy that he could not speak. Petook was sitting on the wooden gatepost dreaming of his family when a group of hens ran up to him. "Come!" they clucked. "Some stranger has been walking through the vineyard." Hey, the vineyard like what I just showed you. Petook, who was inquisitive as any hen, thought he would not have liked it to be known, though he would not have liked it to be known, got up at once and hurried off with the others. Wonder who's in the vineyard. A stranger. Now you can see this vineyard here. Ooh. Sure enough, there on the dewy grass beneath the vines were the impression of a child's feet, these shadowy spots here. They were set in a straight line toward Jerusalem. But Petook knew that between the vine and the road to Jerusalem was the chicken run. And Martha and the children. He began to fly in short, violent bursts of flight back to his family. There he goes. All the way he was saying to himself, "I am sure that they were a boy's footsteps, and boys are sometimes careless, even when they're not cruel. He might tread on one of the chicks." Petook could see that some of the fruit fallen under the vines had been trodden and crushed. You see some of it's been stepped on and crushed. When he got to Martha, he knew he need not have been afraid. It is true that there was a boy there, but this boy was kneeling by the little brown hen with a look of wonder on his face, quite spellbound by the lovely sight of Martha gathering the chicks under her wings. There he is. His hands, which were thin and golden colored, were spread out like protecting wings over Martha. His lips were slightly parted, his eyes shining. So rapt was he that Petook thought, it must be the first time that he has seen a hen gathering her chickens. For Martha, prouder than ever, was clucking softly and pushing the little ones in under her wings. Petook preened himself. He strutted up and down and round and round. He noticed every detail of the day, just as people notice every detail in a picture if it is rare and lovely and one which they may not see again. He noticed how strong-looking the slim hands were, that the child's garment was woven without a seam, and that the sandaled feet were stained with the splashes of juice by treading on fruit fallen from the vine. Suddenly, for sheer joy, Petook lifted his head and crowed. And you can see the splashes on the boy's feet where he had walked through and crushed some of the grapes. Okay. Years had gone by. You can see Petook looks older. Petook was quite old. He had just passed through an uneasy night. Everything had been steeped in moonlight, but all had looked strange and sad. He could see the distant hill of Calvary, where the 3 tall trunks always stood. Only when someone was to die did the trunks become crosses, for then the poor person brought the beam that was fastened across the trunks for him to hang on. By getting on top of the dovecot and stretching his neck, Petook could just see the trunks as dark bars on the shining sky. So here, this page has a lot of little stuff going on. It's that other story. Can you see the dark trunks up here anywhere? And we've got some people coming here. And something going on down here. And something going on right here. Oh, we've seen that white cloak before, haven't we? It seemed as if morning would never come. Martha was puffed out, sleeping on her eggs, and there was no one to talk to. The moonlight light made long black shadows on the grass, and the grass was like pale green water. But suddenly there came a break in the sky, like a red wound. Morning came. See, here comes the sun, like a red wound. And suddenly Petook crowed out loud and long, for he felt somehow excited and lifted up. He could not tell why. Here we have some of our smaller story going on. Right in here. You can see. Yeah. And something going on way up. There's that hill again with the 3 trunks. All day long, he kept returning to the dovecot and looking as if a spell were on him at the trunks. At about midday, or maybe a little later, Petook saw that there was a little smudge at the top of the hill. Up here. Which must be people, he thought. And then the crossbeam went up. When he saw it, he slowly opened his wings. For to him the cross looked just like that, like the opening of great wings. Of course, he did not know who was being lifted up there. He did not know that it was the lovely little boy, or that the little boy had remembered Martha and her chicks year after year, and had said to hard-hearted men, "Jerusalem, Jerusalem, how often would I have gathered you under my wings, as the hen gathers her chicks, and you would not." Let's get a little closer look up there. Yeah, you can see the smaller story going on there. It was 3 days later. A morning cloaked with sunlight as with a garment of golden gossamer. Petook's dark mood had changed. He had a feeling of certainty that Martha's chicks would come out of the eggs today. It would be dawn in a few minutes, and the chicks would come. He felt sure of it. Looks like there's a woman coming too. There's something here with the smaller story as well. I wonder what that is. There was a soft step on the grass. It was the farmer's wife. She loved the fowls, and they trusted her. Now she knelt down by Martha, and Martha did not open her eyes, but made a soft gurgle of greeting in her throat. The woman put her hand gently under the hen's breast, and she drew out an egg. You see it in her hands? It was a lovely egg, a soft golden pink color, and it lay in the palm of the kind woman, warm and beautiful. The woman put the egg back. Then she leaned down. She was listening. Petook was listening too. There's a little more of the small story going on here too. Above my finger. I'll get out of the way. Up here too. There are trunks again. So were the blades of grass and the drops of dew on them. So were the leaves on the trees and the stars that lingered still in the sky. The world was listening. Petook knew that. The trees everywhere were listening. All the winds held their breath. Every flower and leaf and bird was still. It was so quiet that Petook heard the chickens and the eggs tapping softly with their beaks to get out. Yes, Petook heard that, and he heard life everywhere. Tapping softly, knocking softly to get out, to come out of the dark into the light, out of silence into sound, and out of death into life, bird and beast and seed in the earth and bud on the tree. Petook heard all that when the chickens tapped to get out. And suddenly one of them came, a struggling splutter of gold fluff. The woman laughed, and the sky broke into a splendor of light. Look what's going on in the small story up there at the top. Ha! There's light there for sure. Petook threw back his head, and he crowed, and crowed, and crowed. His red comb burned in glory. The white feathers in his plumage dazzled in the light. The new chicken danced at his feet. He crowed again and again and again. It was Easter morning. Oh, look at the small story. Oh, look at that, look at that. You see all the parts? The women coming. The light there in the tomb. Hooray. The end. Okay, so think about how both stories, the big story and the small story, were an Easter story. Easter meaning Jesus rising from the dead, dying for us first and then rising. And I'd love to hear your thoughts about the small story, or even how the big story is considered an Easter story. What about it would make it about Jesus rising from the dead? And let me know. And yeah, enjoy. I love you all, and I will read to you again soon. Goodbye.